When we first came to San Francisco and met Prabhupada, the Swami, he was the Swami back then. We had been investigating all different types of spirituality, and I met many of the mentors of various spiritualities. And then I met Prabhupada. And I wasn't sure what came with that, to really become a devotee and to surrender, in essence, because at that time it was very hedonistic in the world, very pleasurable. So why would I want to follow a 71-year-old man who was telling me not to have fun anymore? So, he was so charming. If you were to make a list of what a Swami is like from India, well, you'd want somebody with wisdom, somebody with wisdom teaching us the Vedas, but I had met some and we heard that some of these Swamis had a sense of humor as well. And compassion. Compassion. He was like our father, and he was spoon-feeding us, and so tolerant. We were in a storefront temple. It wasn't a temple, it was a shop that we conformed into a temple. Someone brought a Native American totem pole. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's the history of Native Americans. There's owls and eagles and feathers, and the Swami just left it there to the right of the altar. Someone brought a picture of Lord Jesus. He left it there. Any bona fide spirituality, and Hinduism does this too, they embrace. They don't separate. There's too many separations in the world between people, between ideas, between religions. That's why we're so fortunate to have the concept of we're not this body, or we don't identify with this body. This is the first principle of transcendence that he gave us. But we didn't know anything, and I remember we went to the YMCA, and there were young kids, and Swamiji said, who's the smartest child? And the little 10-year-old precocious guy, everybody thought he was the smartest. So Prabhupada said, what is this? And he said, my elbow. And what is this? My tummy. And what is this? My head. But where are you? And then he explained in such succinct, for 10-year-olds, we're not this body. So, he was teaching us everything. Cooking, accounting, put it down immediately. There was only 7 of us. Samashunda was there. Yeah, there's only 7 of us. Nice to see you again, both. So he taught us chanting, but we only had the Maha Mantra at the time. We didn't have many prayers. There was a painting of the Panchatattva. However, the artist, Haridas, who brought the totem pole, thought they were women. So Swamiji comes in and sees them as women, goes, calls Haridas over. The painting comes off. The next day they were men. It's just to show you how he was giving us the foundation from the start. And he even said to me at one point, once you learn the foundation, then, and it becomes a part of you, then the spontaneous Krishna consciousness. So the Raganuga Bhakti is when you know it, it becomes part of you. You don't have to think anymore like a fingernail growing. So, but he was teaching us all this. Teaching us, we didn't know. When Jamuna, the great Jamuna, the great devotee where by osmosis some of it spilled on me, she went to her sister's wedding and she heard, okay, Janaki and Mukunda were in New York and they said, oh, there's a really, really nice Swami here. And she went, but she wasn't sure. You see, it's very important to really ask questions and know the truth. He said if you come easily to Krishna, if you learn something easily, you'll forget it. If it learns hard, it's part of you. So ask questions, just like I was talking to the Guru Coolies the other day, encouraging them to ask questions and go for the truth. It's one of the Dharmic principles. Purity, truth, nonviolence, and discipline. The Dharmic code. So I was saying, I was like a child before Swamiji. Once I asked him, can we wear Lord Nrsimha masks on Harinam? Yes. I'll get to that later. We didn't have, I'm getting to when Harinam started with this circuitous route. So, in Calcutta, across from a bathing ghat at Bakur, there were many mosquitoes. So I'm going in and I see Prabhupada and he's sitting on the floor and he was like a child. He said, I fooled them, Gurudas. And I said, who have you fooled? The mosquitoes. When I sit on the floor, they rise. And he was so proud. They just looked like a child. And so I said, Prabhupada, he was Prabhupada now. Prabhupada, are there mosquitoes in Krishna Loka? Yes, but they don't bite, they sing. That's our Prabhupada. So now he's spoon feeding us. He's spoon feeding us. And so we chanted japa, and there was 1 or 2 tunes of kirtan, and he sat Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda. he sat on the altar. There was no Lord Jagannath yet, no deities. I found a Kartamashi little captain in the store, but before that, this is before there was a movement, so there was no mridanga. So he played a bongo drum and led kirtan sitting on the altar with the totem pole and Lord Jesus. I went to a shop in the Haight-Ashbury, and in the window was a Katamashi, about this high, little Captain Krishna. I'd go every day. I said, can we please have Krishna for our temple? Finally, one day they said, you can have him for $35. Well, we didn't have any money. One time someone was coming into London in England, and the customs people called, and they said, there's a monk here who says that he's with your Hare Krishna, and he doesn't have any money. Should we let him in? I said, we'll sponsor him, but you see, if he had one farthing, kick him out. He's a monk, but in case he didn't have any money, let him in. Quite. Yes. So, when Kartamashi came, so $35. So I went out in the street and I said, my father's in jail, I need some money. My best friend's in jail, he's blue, Shyam. I need some money. Psh, Krishna's magic. Very soon after, $35. I brought him to the park. Jivananda was there. I'm going to see him in Glastonbury. We fed him. We actually saw, there was before and after photos that he actually flourished after he was with us. So now, Kartamashi was on the altar. So, the humble Swami, we knew he was great, but he was also just part of us. It was like our father, and he was amongst us, and he was very humble and down to earth, and he can see into everybody's heart, just like Krishna with the gopis at the rasa dance. Every one of us felt fulfilled, and there was a machine gunner from Vietnam, and he also loved Prabhupada. We had all types. So now, in his humility, he said there's a seat called the Vyasasan, where the gurus, and we had an idea of the Parampara system. Every day we were learning new things that right now you're taking for granted. Because you've got the movement, and you had mentors, and you have people to tell you. We just had the Swami. None of us, Mukunda was a little advanced, because he had already been in New York, but so he said, so there's a Vyasasan, so Samarshunda built some stairs, and he sat there now, and we had Kartamashi on the altar. Now people were coming to the temple. Every morning, it was known in the underground communication that you can go to the Krishna temple to eat breakfast after your LSD or peyote or mescaline or whatever trip you were on all night, you ended it and re-entered, which there's a re-entering back into non-transcendent consciousness. And so it was known that you could go to the Krishna temple. And so then we had love feasts. Why do we call them Sunday feasts now? These were love feasts. And we would have 2 mats, like long mats, and it would be out to the street. So Jayananda and Madhavisa and Brother David and the different brahmacharis, they really relished the prasadam, especially Jamuna and Malati and Janaki were cooking. Jamuna was already a great cook. And so they wanted to know, their big pleasure was at the end of the week, the love feast, and they were trying to smell what prasadam was in the pots there. So they were right in the front, ready to get the prasadam. And Jamuna decided, okay, we're going to make plates and pass them out to the people in the street first. So the hungry brahmacharis had to do that. Oh, that really smells good. Oh. But service, I'll talk about service. That's what we do. So the next week, Madhavisa, Jayananda, Brother David, Upendra, Kartikeya, they all went out in the street. Jamuna decided to feed the people in the front first. So this is a minor challenges, but there's challenges in Krishna consciousness in life. But you see, we're yogis. Agitated, the ocean is agitating on top, but there down in the depths is Krishna consciousness. Inside, the journey inside. We can go and sightsee, but now sightsee inside yourself. We have the comfort of chanting, which is cleansing the mirror of the soul. So now he's on the Vyasasan, and people are coming. All the hippies were coming because of the breakfast and the temple, and they liked it. It was very popular. 85% of the people back then, there was a poll, said they were Krishna conscious. That was their religion. It was catching on, just like it's catching on now and still going on. So now, not only that, the Indian ambassador was coming to the temple. Ali Akbar Khan came. Allen Ginsberg came. The Gujarati Patels came one night. So, Prabhupada, the Swami's on the Vyasasan. After the kirtan, Govinda Dasi's father goes right up to the Vyasasan. And then all the Patels went up to the Vyasasan as well to hear the knowledge. What is the Swami going to say? So he's from Texas. Texas is a state. It was the biggest state before Alaska. They were very arrogant because of oil well wealth, and they just big ranches, and they were just swag. They had the swagger. They would, they had the bling, everything. So Govinda Dasi's father goes right up to the altar and he says, "Why does my daughter have to have an Indian name?" The Patels are there. The head of the Patels had a gold tooth, there's a light bouncing off his tooth into Govinda Dasi's father's eye like a strobe light. That didn't help things. So Prabhupada's very clever. Now he's surrounded by the Patels, and he's going like this. Prabhupada says, "You do not like Indians?" He felt like General Custer, surrounded. "Yeah, I like Indians all right. But why does my daughter have to have an Indian name?" If she's happy, why do you object? I saw Prabhupada disarm so many parents. They just want the children to be happy. My father embraced Krishna consciousness. Some do. He chanted. Because I was in the civil rights movement, getting beaten up and almost killed, in jail, all the things. So to him, Krishna consciousness was actually a positive alternative. So he was teaching us, and we were chanting. The kirtans were over an hour, and there were kettle drums and kelp horns and trumpets and violins and guitars. And Prabhupada would lead them in his honey, gravelly voice, so beautiful, like on the Happening record, that tune. One night, we're having kirtan, and I hear on the wall, we heard, after the kirtan, boom, boom, boom. Swamiji calls me over. Guru Das, what is that? Why did he call me? There was Jayananda, there was Tamal Krishna was there at the time, Vishnu Jan. Why did he ask me to get Radhanath out of the crowd? At any rate, he empowered me. So next door to us was a thing called the Diggers. They were feeding people, and we were feeding people. But there was also the motorcycle gang, the Hells Angels. And they were very notorious for they would trash, ruin buildings and beat people up, but they were our neighbors, so we were getting to know them. And eventually, at our Mantra Rock dance, I made them security because that canceled out them trashing our dance. And then they did it as a business. But like the material world, a good thing starts, and then at Altamont, a Rolling Stone concert, they actually murdered someone. It was my idea, but at any rate, Mukunda helped them start their branch in the UK. I might get to that. Mukunda did. But you see, Krishna works in mysterious ways. They were tough, but they knew us. So I go next door after the kirtan to find out. Swamiji wants to know what that is. Well, we knew them because they were feeding people and we were feeding people, and sometimes they'd come and say, "Well, can we have a cup of sugar?" "Oh, yeah." And I taught them a tactic. When I was in the civil rights movement, when the police came, we would take out movie cameras. See, once the injustice is exposed, they can't hide it anymore. And once the injustice is exposed inside yourself, you can eradicate them. And sometimes there was no film in the cameras. So the Hells Angels really liked that. Because when they were raided a lot, and they'd take out the movie camera. So I go there and open the door, and there's this really tall guy. Big, no teeth, some teeth. A swastika etched into his cheek. This isn't going to go so well. I had my bead bag, and he had a stiletto knife, you know. So I said, well, the Swamiji is going to talk now, and he was wondering what the banging on the wall was. And perhaps for a little while you won't bang on the wall. He says, I was banging on the wall, man, because of your singing. Every time I hear you sing, there's a jazz term, knock yourself out. I didn't say it. So they respected Prabhupada. They said, and Ken Kesey, the author, they said he's heavy. He's the heaviest of the gurus, which means deep, not a cheater, not chasing after women disciples. Or there's a thing in psychology called transference, that automatically you fall in love with your mentor, your teacher, your guru. So the gurus, the psychologists, the mentors, if they're pure, they won't take advantage of this, because automatically they fall in love. And I fell in love with Prabhupada too, so you can see that. So that's, some people do take advantage of this because there's beautiful souls fawning at their feet. But Prabhupada never did. And that's why they knew. And people who experienced a lot of gurus, Allen Ginsberg, they knew that Prabhupada was the real deal. And I was just in Liverpool for the George Harrison 80th birthday. It was really great. The mayor came, we gave a set of books to the library, 3 days at the Beatle Museum and television, radio. It was very nice. And so George Harrison realized this because he was also looking for a bona fide guru, and his confidant, his friend, and my friend Ravi Shankar, because I know George conferred with this, and he was familiar with Paramahansa Yogananda, self-realization. But Ravi told him Prabhupada. And they came to see him, and we were in Vrindavan. It was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disappearance day. And I heard they were in Vrindavan. And by Krishna's grace, I just took a rickshaw and found them, brought them back. And again, Prabhupada was he just made everybody feel at ease. He was really interested in them. He listened, and he and Ravi had already a relationship, and George already had a relationship. And the room was full of sannyasis who were trying to get George's attention. And then Jamuna came in the room, and George bounded up and gave her a big hug. Only Mukunda, myself, Shamashunda, and Jamuna basically were the only ones who interacted with George, because some devotees treated him like a demigod, or some devotees didn't treat him like a person. They treated him like another yes-man toady. He didn't need another yes man toady. He really felt comfortable with us. So when the seed of Krishna consciousness came inside of him, it grew. He was a gardener, but Prabhupada really treated him very nice. And he said, should I become a disciple? And Prabhupada in his wisdom said, no, you're doing such good things in the world with your music, keep doing that. And it was a wise decision because he told me, I don't want to do nonsense songs anymore, like Bebop Alula. So he came out with My Sweet Lord, and that brought so many people to Krishna consciousness. So if Prabhupada said, yes, you should be initiated, he might have ended up in a temple with some unimaginative administrator making him clean the bathroom with a toothbrush or something. So it was really a wise decision. And that's the thing, he was able to just encourage Jamuna's calligraphy, my photography. This is a new book.
Where we can buy it?
What?
Where I can buy it?
I want to show you a picture because here we were going to Harinam, and I'm not wearing any shoes. You can't see it, but I'm getting to the point of the glories of Sri Chaitanya. I'm getting there. So now he taught us chanting. This is his chatter. So we're becoming very popular. People are coming to the temple, and we were chanting inside. So one day, because we saw the Panchatattva, but we really were just learning a little, he said, if you learn too much at a time, you'll get indigestion. Something learned hard is hard to forget. Something learned easily is easily forgotten. So he was teaching us. One day on a chalkboard, he wrote the prayers to Lord Rama. Then another time he wrote prayers to Lord Chaitanya. We were learning about Lord Chaitanya. And it was very inspiring what we learned, that he was inviting everybody in the world to chant. And this united them. And this can unite the world. But he taught us something really important. Das anu das. And people from India already have this. The service attitude. What it means is that you're not envious. Like this verse, you're humble. You're not envious. You really are happy with your Prabhu and Mataji's advancement in Krishna consciousness. That makes you happy. And we're still doing it today. I just step off the airplane and people take me here and there and being so kind. And this is already going on in India, but we're still doing that in this century. It's an oasis in the world this Krishna consciousness, and you're still doing this. Now I hear there's 50,000 congregation, and we came with 7. Just think how that makes me feel. And again, it wasn't easy at first, but then it worked, it happened. We just wanted to please Prabhupada, that's all. So he's teaching this principle. So now we're really feeling good. First, I didn't get a chance to see the Swami. Only Mukunda and Hayagriva and Ray Rama. He was translating. We got to see him Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for Kirtan. But sometimes Tuesday and Thursdays we would actually have darshan, but not very much. But then one day, he called me in and said, I want to learn about this Pentax camera. Somebody in India wanted to know the prices. Well, this is the first actual meeting with him. I had my Nikon. I found it in a taxi cab by Krishna's grace, and the Swami took it, and I showed him the light meter. And there's photosensitive cells back then, and you put your hand there, and then the needle would jump when you take your hand off. He played with it for 20 minutes. I'm sitting there, feeling the heft. No, he used to have a game with Kishori. She would run to her seat like this, and he would ruffle her hair, and then they would giggle, and then she would run, and they were like golden retrievers. When is this game going to stop? They did it. He had that attention. So now he wanted me to tell him Pentax prices. So now, being from New York, I had my foot in the door, and I came every day with some excuse. So much so that Harsharani and Govinda Dasi said, and Upendra, they were in the kitchen, don't let Gurudas in anymore because he's always there. But Prabhupada was always smiling and welcoming me. So they said, don't let Gurudas in, but when I decided to go, they were in the kitchen. Oh no, Gurudas is there again. And just to show you the playfulness, see, everybody has the awe and respect, and the books are like that, but Harsharani was the law enforcer. Jamuna proposed marriage to me in the most unromantic proposal of all time, which was, Harsharani says as you live together, you got to get married. Oh. So Swamiji goes into the kitchen, and there's pakoras cooling. So he takes one, and he never touched his lotus mouth. With an arc, And Harsharani said, you can't do that. When we cook for Krishna, we don't taste. His answer was he took another pakora. And we don't touch, we don't taste. He said, who has told you these rules? He said, you have. Then I can break them. But you see, that's when Jamuna fell in love. When she came back to San Francisco, I was telling you, she went to Janaki's wedding, and she was a good cook, Mukunda and Janaki, because Janaki is Jamuna's sister. So she goes to New York, and there's the Swami, and he's teaching her how to cook. He's teaching her how to cook. So she's already a good cook, but she touched her shoulder. My mate, partner in crime.
That's more like it.
Yeah. So she goes there, touched her shoulder, and the Swami says, "Go wash your hands." So then an hour later, she said, don't be shocked with this, folks, but she said, "Swamiji, can I go smoke a cigarette?" "Go wash your hands." Then she tastes, because 99.99% of people who are cooking taste. She innocently, "Go wash your hands." But by the end of 4 days with him, she was just, he said, take rest. He could see that he was caring for her. He very much cared for us. He very much cared for us. Daughters and son, men and women are the same on the spiritual platform, he said. Anyway, she comes back, and then he came to San Francisco. So she proposed to me, and we go to the Swami and say, "We want to get married." He says, "First you must get initiated." "Oh. When do you want this?" "Tomorrow." Chinchilla mind. He didn't. My friends were like George Harrison. I wasn't the party guy anymore. My friends, some of them supported it, some of them didn't. Janaki made oleo margarine instead of ghee and fruit boxwood, so the fire just sputtered on the initiation. I had an R name, Roger, but he stopped in the middle and he said, "No, Guru Das." And all the masculine people who came, they liked the fire. The people, they were, "Oh, Guru Das." At any rate, the next day was the marriage, and there was a third person on a cushion next to us. It was a mother with a baby who wanted to marry Prabhupada. No, Allen Ginsberg suggested that so he could get his green card, but Prabhupada said, "No, I'm sannyasi." But so that's how ignorant we were, yeah. So the baby's head is hitting the floor during the fire yagya. And Swamiji says it and says, "Pick up baby." "Oh, I didn't realize." She was a space cadet. "Will be strong baby." No, he was like that. We were on Tottenham Court Road doing Harinam 3 times a day when we first started, and this devotee couple with a baby had a barrel with incense, and they just closed up the barrel and followed us. And we were getting a lot of reporters back then, and the reporters picked them out and said, "How long have you been a devotee?" 20 minutes. I'll take over. At any rate, we get to John Lennon's estate. This is to show you Prabhupada's open-mindedness, his wit. So he was performing a marriage and initiation at the same time. Devadatta Drupadi, and someone said, Prabhupada, what's the child's name? And Prabhupada said, child comes out after marriage, not before. And then he laughed. And then he gave him the name, Dhruva Maharaj. So that's what he was like. He always forgave us. Malati stole the butter. Well, if you have to steal, then steal butter, because that's what Krishna does. And somebody told me Krishna's Scottish because he's Markenchur. So now we go into so it's Lord Chaitanya's appearance day. Now I'm getting to this where I'm leading up to. The Harinam Sankirtan, Glories of Lord Chaitanya. He says to us, now it's Lord Chaitanya's appearance day, and I want you to go into the temple and chant japa, chant kirtan, and read this book. And it was an unpublished book of the Chaitanya Chaitamrita, not published yet. And he said, stay in the temple the whole day till 6 o'clock and fast. But like a kindly father, he gave us rock candy if we couldn't do it, if we couldn't fast the whole day. That's what a kind father he is. So we go in there, and about noontime, we're doing all this. Jayananda Thakur, do you know who he is? One of the greatest devotees. Selfless, working hard. He was older than us too. So we looked up to him, but he was a man of the people. Everybody, hi Jim, and gave us Vogue. At any rate, he left the planet, but he was given the title Thakur. Very great devotee. And Jayananda, Jivananda, come up, they go like this. Let's get out of here. To me. And I said, the Swamiji told us to stay in the temple the whole day. Stay in the temple the whole day. And now you're saying go outside? Yeah, we want to chant for the Swami. He was in an apartment that we had, and I gave it to him just up the hill. And I said, well, he told us to stay in the temple, but you see, Jivananda, Jayananda, I thought two Anandas were more powerful than one Das. And so I went, and we go there, and we're chanting, and he comes to the window, and he goes like this. And I said, I told you two Anandas that he's telling us to go back in the temple. He didn't chastise anybody to that point, maybe Malati for the butter, but at any rate, we were disobeying his order. So we're going down the hill, and Upendra comes running out, and he said, the Swamiji wants to see you. And it's like when I was in school, I'm going to the principal's office again. Actually, I wasn't too big. At any rate. So we go in there, and he's got this oceanic smile. And he said, Lord Chaitanya has entered your intelligence, Chaitya Guru. And now I want you to take this and chant out into the streets like Lord Chaitanya did. And this is called Harinam Sankirtan. And so that was the start of the Harinam Sankirtan. Vishnujan, Jamuna. There's pictures of of us out in the street. Here's one. Someone decided to take Lord Jagannath for a walk. So, Prabhupada, he's running, and I'm there in tow. He said, Lord Jagannath doesn't come off the altar except one day a year. See, we didn't know. The Rath didn't come yet. And so then he was there, and he said, well, now we're here, so let's just sit down and chant. And that's what he did. You see, he always forgave. And so, now we went into the street. And we started this all over the world Sankirtan movement. Then we started it all over the world. And I had a bus at the Radha Damodar bus party. And a bus here. We went to Northern Ireland, Kripamoya. In the name of Harinam. We did it in the streets, in the war-torn zone. I was on television, and the man said, oh, another religion. We don't need another religion up here. And I said, we're a way of life, not a religion, and you sure could use another way of life. And it was like I hit him in the stomach. He went, hey! And then he went, what is this mark on your head? But they were so smart, they edited it where you sure could use another way of life here. So this Krishna consciousness is another way of life. We're very fortunate to have this and each other. We want to see each other's success. Be kind to one another. Avoid. One time, the telex machine came. So I said, Prabhupada, we can have a telex in each center of the world so we can communicate. And he said, yes, but they just might gossip on it. Social media, you see, he's smart. It's a tool. Use it or misuse it. If someone comes up with gossip, he hated gossip, pettiness. If someone comes up with a rumor, Socrates said, number one, is it the truth? Number two, will it hurt someone? And number three, is it useful? So what is useful is that we encourage each other, no judgment, love. Love for each other. We're a strong group within an oasis in a world of nescience and temporariness and trouble. And so now we do have each other. And let us continue to be kind and understanding and not judging, looking into the heart, not the body. And so then we'll be able to carry on this wonderful Sankirtan movement. Thank you very much. I think there's a minute if somebody wants a question. Yes.
Guru, in this kirtan that you heard Srila Prabhupada sing, did you sing one melody or do you have a variety of melodies?
First they use Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That was the happening one. That's what he did most. But then slowly we heard bhajans and different tunes, but that was the mainstay. When we went out in the streets, we did Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. That would get us going. Here in England, we'd go out 3 times a day. So one of the devotees was, as I say, a machine gunner in Vietnam. And sometimes they would throw things at us. But most of the time people would say, what's this in aid of? And it was very successful. And a missile would be coming towards me and hit him. And he said, Gurudas, I saw that coming towards you and it hit me. And I said, you were a machine gunner in Vietnam and it would have been bullets if it wasn't for Krishna. So yeah, at first he did that tune. And then slowly we developed tunes in Vishnu Jan and Mukunda. Then he gave us some other tunes, but at first that was the mainstay.
You mentioned that Prabhupada made a comment about the baby. It will be strong baby.
Yes.
It's funny. Because it occurred to me also, can we hear? It's just a comment. I also heard a 4-word comment by Prabhupada. I recall Prabhupada made these little comments, but they were pregnant with, it will be strong baby, 4 words. And you've remembered those 4 words. We were sitting on the lawn one summer, 1973, with Prabhupada. There was a small group of us. It was very sunny. And up in the air were these little airplanes, because down the road there's the aerodrome. And during the summer, some of the people who own these planes, they'd just like to come and get up in the air and fly around for fun. And we were listening to Prabhupada speak, but these little planes were buzzing. And the devotees were getting really distracted, like this, because we couldn't hear Prabhupada because of these little buzzing planes. And Prabhupada noticed us being distracted by the planes. And I noticed that Prabhupada also looked up like this. And he grinned from ear to ear like this, beaming. And he just looked back and he said, "They will be mosquitoes." And that's all he said. And those 4 words also have stayed with me.
What about, he taught us accounting, and one guy didn't listen to him in India, and I recounted everything. He said, accounting means put it down immediately, 4 words. Put it down. How about this one? This is one of the best ones of all time. Art means full belly. Art means full belly. 4. If we were looking at some art in Nandagam on the temple, and we're looking, there's a photo of it in here, and he said art means full belly, that people can't appreciate this art if they're starving. And they can't appreciate Krishna consciousness if they're surviving and starving. So he said, feed them. So that art means full belly. There's enough tapasya in the world without putting any more on yourself unnecessarily. That's not 4, but how's that one? Sometimes people beat themselves up artificially because they don't think they're living up to the standard. Krishna just wants you to try sincerely. He doesn't want you to beat yourself up. So there's enough tapasya in the world without putting any more on yourself unnecessarily. Did you have a question?
it occurs to me, I was listening to Prabhupada's lecture about how the devotees started up, you know, and he said gradually they came and he said just try and you'll find out. And it's very much like a little program they're running here, Be a Monk for 5 days, which people, it's a very successful thing, because these people, within 5 days, they're just different people, you know, on those lines that Prabhupada was saying, that just get them doing something, get them up early in the morning, let them hear the program, and it's now one of the most successful outreach programs, and also the program with the school children that come here every day from different schools, you know, and they always remember coming to the Hare Krishna temple, because that's very good for book selling, because they take a book later. So there's all these things that just start on that basic thing that you seem to do in those old days, all of you, that just let them do. You know, they're not perfection, and you don't have to get them to do everything straight away, but just get them to hear and taste and practice as much as they can. And there's no strictness. Just let them be themselves. And that's certainly, that Be a Monk thing is very similar to what Prabhupada was talking about in those early days. Let them offer incense and all that sort of thing.
Was there a question in there? Anyway,
No,
be yourself.
No, I was just reflecting on what you
No,
said.
I appreciate it, and I want to talk about something. Oscar Wilde said, be yourself, everyone else is taken. So Prabhupada and Krishna wants individuality, not automaton robots. But thanks for reminding me, I started a charity in 2017 for elderly devotees who have given their life for Krishna and they're not taken care of. It's called the Vedic Care Charitable Trust. Sri Kama's a trustee, and we have a meeting later today about that, but it's outreach, helping people who are assisted when they're sick or needing bhog or rides to the temple. We're doing that in Britain. Assisted living care, vibrant places, hospice, and shraddha. So I'll talk about that more later, but we need volunteers. Prabhupada's formula was people, place, and Lakshmi. So we could use some more volunteers and donations also to keep us going. We're doing it in Spain, Toronto, Latvia, Australian Farm. The point is, we can't do it. We're a small organization, but we want it done in every place, Krishna place of the world. Take care of the elders and children and everybody. Take care of everybody. Don't take each other for granted. You know, we're very special souls, all of us. More?
I was just going to ask if you could maybe speak on Prabhupada's affection towards us, and especially the past time I remember listening where there was a devotee singing, and he then ran to Prabhupada and fell on his lap, and Prabhupada kind of patted him on the head. So maybe if you could speak on that.
What was the question? Somebody who patted somebody on the head?
Yeah, the past time, I think it was Ravindra Swarup, where he was crying in Kirtan. You spoke on your Prabhupada memories, and he was crying in Kirtan, and he ran to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was very affectionate towards him. And so I wanted to ask if you could speak on this Prabhupada's affection towards all the devotees.
For all of us. He actually petted me on the head too. In Vrindavan, we were doing a foot bathing ceremony, and he patted me on the head. No, so many, he was very kind to all of us. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Gurudas Prabhu. It is on? Hare Krishna, Gurudas Prabhu. So, what I'm getting is, it feels like a different movement when you walk into the room and the way that you present as it was. And there is the sense that things move on with our knowledge and awareness and skills and expertise as we grow, as we mature. So I'm kind of interested in how what you're putting out is the simplicity of what Prabhupada gave everyone. And what I experienced is a lot of expectation with regards to the abilities that we have, or the maturity, or the do's and don'ts of what we should do in Krishna consciousness, how we should be on so many levels Brahminical. And much of the time what we're hearing from yourself was that Prabhupada was able to forgive at many points. I also experienced the fact that it could be very heavy too. So how do you strike that balance with the kind of conversation you're presenting to us now?
Being Brahminical and the balance between being Brahminical and...
I think what I was pointing to was this sense of love and recognizing that we're all at different levels, and how to support each other, given that we all operate and behave and have different personalities and natures. And we can get very prescriptive, we can be too liberal, too conservative. What is it that we do?
Yeah, it's the nature of movements. All movements have charismatic leaders, anthems, songs, books, and peer pressure. That means people are acting, conforming in certain ways. And so when we're in the early days, it was family, learning, building, and intimate. But any movement, as it grows, it gets bigger, and then people get titles, wealth. They may take shlokas or things out of context. It's just what happens. However, now we see schools and goshalas and people recording music and George Harrison festivals and 50,000 people and having to build a back road because there's too many people. So that's what I see, the good in that. And because it's bigger now, it means that we can even love bigger. More people to love. And love yourself too. So many people have low self-esteem from childhood. So you're a devotee who's loving Krishna. Appreciate yourself. I don't know if that answered your question, but... Yes, real conversation, finding out about the other, not just Hari Bol Prabhu, and not conversation. That's the same as, surf's up, dude. Oh, did we have a conversation? No, Hari Bol Prabhu. Yeah, Hari Bol Prabhu. No, I want to get to know you. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much. That other Prabhu, he really wanted me to get a book from you, if you have one copy.
What's the one that was there?
Yeah.
Okay. I can donate. I mean, I can sign it to him.
Oh, that'd be nice. He gave me this. I don't know if it's enough, but I think it's $24.
No, no.
No? Okay.
No, it's a coffee table book. It's 60 pounds. So if they got Kindle, it's only 9 pounds.